it. You're pretty much flat out the whole way in these Porsche Cup cars. As here we go, it is green. We are now racing. Lightblade looks like he gets a decent start. He's got Evan looking to his outside here up towards turn 1, but Evan tucks in for that slipstream and ends up going single file into turn 1. Raki's got ahead of Didi up into third. Oh no, we've got that glitch again where it pings me to the top screen every single time I click on another driver. Oh no. I really want to take my anger out on something, but I can't, so I'm going to have to get on with it. So Lightblade leads ahead of Evan at the moment. Raki there in third. We've got DDTKU just behind. Cinderella Tour running in 5th place at the moment. There's Dujo Senor in 6th. Ryan, Will Friedman already up into 8th place. Good first couple of corners. Oh, somebody's lost it in the background there. Somebody's off. Oh, who's that? That's Martin there, who's off in the background, driving in that number 71. He's had an absolute horror show of a start to this race. Lightblade though leads ahead of Evan right now. 3 tenths between these two. Raki there in 3rd place. DD 4th. Cinderella Tour. Dujo, Ryan, Will Friedman, Martin, and extra on the top 10. Then Luke Hegemars, Stones Racing and Tribe Racing at the back. But Lightblade holding on to his pole position crucially at the start there. Brought it home in P2 in a sprint race. He will not want to be to do that again, but he goes ever so wide there on the exit of that corner, and Evan's now going to have a run on him coming up towards the chicane. They're going to be side by side here into the braking zone. Evan's going to have this move done, I think, up into the lead of the race. Here we go. Evan takes the lead here on the first lap. Lightblade with a momentary lapse of concentration loses the lead there. Raki in third, having got the jump on Didi, is in that 3rd place right now. There's Cinderella Toy in the background. That in 5th place. There's Dujo with Ryan Ruby. Will trying to get onto the back of Ryan if he can. Good first lap here from Will, starting from P to 10 in this race. He's already made up 2 places ahead of Exeron and Luke van der Streets. Hegemars, Tribe Racing, Stones Racing, and Martin running at the back of this field at the moment. Out onto the start finish straight here for the first time in this race. The Lightblade leads ahead of Evan, and Raki's still keeping these guys on their toes. Got a big train of cars though, battling it out over 6th place. Dujo, Ryan, Will and Exeron all pretty close to each other. These 4 kind of, or it's 3 now, as they kind of dropped Exeron a little bit, but they're currently running a little way off for the top 5, who seem to be in a bit of a pack here, as now we've got Ryan looking to the inside of Dujo into turn 1, a little bit too far back to make that one work at the moment. Evan though leads ahead of Lightblade, Raki, Didi and Cinderella Tour, very much in hot pursuit at the moment though, as they're coming up towards turn 2. Here we go. Is Evan going to be able to defend this from Lightblade? Lightblade had a look to the inside but couldn't get it done, and Evan's still holding on to that lead for the time being. Very close racing between these 5 cars here, as Cinderella Tour went a little bit wide there coming through that corner and has lost touch with the top 4 just a little bit coming through that section of the track. Didi having a look to the inside there of Raki on the exit of the hairpin, but Raki's still holding on to that 3rd place at the moment. As Dujo Senor's lost it. Dujo's onto the grass a little bit. He's now lost out. He's down to 9th in this race as Exteron squeezes through there as he's just oh, for God's sake. Exteron there just squeezing through. Hold on. Okay, Exteron's down in 11th now. Right. Oh, God, I hate this timing board. I really can't stand this timing board in this game. It's horrible. Right, so Will's now running in 6th place. He's now 4 seconds clear of Luke. And Ryan Ruby's just suddenly dropped off of the radar completely. Quickly grab a drink, but Evan's still leading ahead of Lightblade right now. Lightblade having a little look to the inside into the hairpin, can't get it done. Looked like he was really eyeing up a move there. Raki's still running in 3rd place just ahead of Didi and Cinderella Tour. Will Friedman now starting to reel these guys in a little bit there, currently running in P6, the championship leader, reigning champion of the Porsche Cup, trying to get some work done here in this race. He started at the back, but he's obviously had to do this one the hard way. Dujo Senor's picked up a drive-through penalty. I'm not sure what that's for. Shooting for track limits, and he's going to have to come in and serve that over the course of this race. at some point, but Evan still leads ahead of Lightblade 8/10 between these two. Evan, since getting that move done on Lightblade at the end of lap 1, has held that lead. Raki still running just ahead of Didi at the moment. Cinderella Tour, Will is now within a second, 1.7 seconds of Cinderella Tour right now. Luke van der Streets, Tribe Racing and Hegemar's still going at it. Hegemar's having a little look to the inside of Tribe coming into the chicane. I think that Tribe's going to still take his normal racing line there and hold him off for the time being. Ryan trying to bring himself back onto this pack here. These three currently battling it out over 7th. Ryan wants to make that a quartet if he can, and give these guys a little bit of a battle here for 7th spot. Exeron starting to rule these guys in a little bit now as well. They've got 4 seconds back to Stones running in 12th. Dujo serving that drive-through penalty is in the pits at the moment. Martin with a stop-go penalty, having an absolutely torrid feature race. There's no other word for it at the moment. But Evan leads by 9/10 of a second ahead of Lightblade coming into turn 1. 6 minutes into the feature race, these two have been pretty much tit for tat out the front. Lightblade's going to want to make sure he doesn't come up second best in a race here in the Porsche Cup again. He'll be looking to try and go one better in this feature race. Raki's still running just ahead of DD, 7/10 of a second between those two at the moment. Cinderella Tour running in 5th place. He's 1.6 off at the back of those two, batting it out over the final podium spot. Will Friedman knows really hassling for Cinderella Tour. Cinderella Tour's going a bit wide there, coming out of the corner before the hairpin, and that is Will up into 5th place there. So Will Friedman picking up another place. He's got Didi and Cinderella Tour just up the road from him and be looking to get himself onto the podium as soon as he possibly can. Evan still leads ahead of Lightblade as we see Raki and Didi coming through the picture. There is Will. That's how close he is now to those podium spots. Cinderella Tour, since losing that position to Will, now down in P6. Big gap back to this man, Tribe Racing, who's got Luke van der Streets hassling the back of him here. Edgemars and Ryan Ruby very close on the back as well. And Exeron also joining that train there. That could be a 5-car train here, batting over 7th pretty shortly. Back to the leaders. Evan leads by 6/10 ahead of Lightblade, Raki and Didi. Well, in fact, Raki's dropped off the back quite a bit off of those guys. Obviously, we saw that a while ago. But Raki there has got Didi, Will and Cinderella Tour pretty close behind him. Cinderella Tour still keeping to the back of this train despite losing the position to Will earlier this lap. He's going to try and follow Will through this pack if he can, I'm sure. Well, Will Friedman has done an absolutely brilliant job throughout the course of this race so far. Started this one from 10th on the grid and it's already worked its way up into 5th place. We'll be trying, I'm sure, to make it another win here Imola tonight. He took the sprint race earlier on, tends not to qualify for the feature races as well. It's a little signature move that he has. He doesn't really do the quali for the features, and right now running in P5, he's already pulled out a second and a half with a gap to Cinderella Tour on this lap since making the move on him, but he's not really reeled in Raki and Didi too much on this lap so far. Evan though leads. He's now got over a second here to Lightblade, so Lightblade's starting to drop off of Evan a little bit. Evan's really flying out the front since taking the lead here. Did a great qualifying, managed to qualify only 2/10 behind Lightblade in 2nd place for this feature race qualifying session. A massive improvement from his sprint race performance. As we can see, Raki's still holding on ahead of Didi at the moment. These guys 1.3 ahead of Will Friedman, who's still continuing to hunt them in this race. Cinderella Tour dropping off of Will as we go on. At the moment, Luke van der Street's a long way back from these. Still got Tribe, Hegemars, Ryan and Extra on a hot pursuit here as Tribe's looking to the outside here of Luke van der Street's coming up the hill. Is he going to be able to get this move done on him? They're going to be side by side. He's going to have to give him the space here. Hopefully these guys can keep it clean as Luke hugs the inside line and just eases Tribe out a little bit wide, and Tribe nowhere to go, right over the rumble strip a little bit, tucks in behind him for the time being. Hegemars, Ryan and Extra on very close. Oh, Extra on was all over the curb there as they came through that part of the track. Hegemars ever so wide, manages to hold on ahead of Ryan, but Ryan's going to have to run coming up towards the chicane. He's surely not going to be too happy with Hegemars running wide there, but Ryan manages to get the position of Hegemars up into 9th place as Tribe still hasn't been able to get it. Oh, Luke Lewis is coming to the chicane. Luke spun off to the side there, and he's now going to be dropping down to 12th place in this race. That promotes Tribe Racing and Hegemars. No, it promotes Tribe Racing and Ryan even up into 8th and 9th. Ryan getting ahead of Hegemars. Hegemars and Extron coming through ahead of Luke van der Streets there, but Luke losing 4 places in one corner. Disaster of a corner there for him as we've got Tribe still running just ahead of Ryan right now. That's Tribe Racing in 7th, Ryan in 8th, then Extron's got ahead of Hegemars into 9th. Hegemars is in 10th, and you got Luke van der Streets in 11th place. So yep, time board is now updated to what I just said. So obviously I do know what's going on. The timing board tries to confuse me, but I do know what's going on. Evan is currently running in the lead of the race, half a second ahead of Lightblade at this point. 5 seconds back to this man Raki, who's still keeping Will Friedman at bay. Will has got ahead of Didi, and Didi's dropped well off. I don't know what happened to Didi there, but he's now down in P6. He's behind Cinderella Tour, so he's really lost out over this last lap here as Didi TKU. Must have made a mistake somewhere, not quite sure where, but Will is still on the back of Raki right now. These two separated by just under a second. Evans gap to Lightblade 0.3 of a second, so Lightblade continuing to try and put the pressure on him. As that's the back marker there. That's the back marker who's lost it somewhere. So Evan and Lightblade still currently showing everybody how it's done. 0.3 between these two. Lightblade having a little look to the inside, coming down towards the hairpin. Can Lightblade try and really take this fight to Evan here? Obviously Lightblade was on pole position in the qualifying session, but unfortunately for him, jumped on the opening lap by Evan. He made a little mistake coming through Aquamillarale on the first lap, and that gave Evan the lead. Since then Evan has not been in any moves. Oh no, Lightblade's just done him. He's literally done him in a black spot. Oh my goodness, Lightblade has just done Evan in a black spot in that last corner. We didn't even get to see it because he literally just overtook him in a black spot. So Lightblade now leads this race ahead of Evan, and Lightblade is your new race leader. The pole sitter now has the lead once again. Evan's still sticking to the back of him, but Lightblade, well, I'd love to say pulled off a great move, but I don't know because we didn't see it. But now Lightblade leads this race ahead of Evan anyway, so that's the story of that little exchange. Raki closed the gap to them a little bit, so I don't know if they had a bit of a to-do, but into the hairpin they come. Lightblade covering that inside line. Evan trying to go for the cutback if he can. Can he get the run coming up the hill? I don't think he's going to be quite close enough up the hill to go for a move into this left-hander. He's going to have a look and try and distract him in the mirrors, but Lightblade's going to be too alert and alive to that one. Raki there in the background of this. For good God's sake, I hate this whole interface. It's horrible. But Raki there running in third place just ahead of Will Friedman, 0.2 of a second between those two at the moment. Gaps kind of spreading out a little bit aside from these top four. So you got first and second Lightblade and Evan battling. You got third and fourth Raki and Will Friedman giving it everything at the moment. Will obviously started from P10 on the grid. He's looking to try and make hay while the sun shines here. He's looking to try and get himself onto the podium, looking to the outside in towards the chicane. Raki's going to defend that inside line and hold on for the time being, parking his car on the apex on the second part of that corner and doing everything he can do to keep that charging number 8 reigning champion behind him as they're coming down towards the final corner. Will having a look to the outside. Can he get it around him here? No, Raki once again is just going to defend that inside line, and there's no way around for Will Friedman at the moment. Lightblade still leads by 0.4 of a second out the front. He's been holding that lead for quite some time. He's been doing everything he has to do here ahead of Evan since the beginning of this race, and as they're coming over the line to complete their 8th lap of the race, 7th lap even, is Evan still leading, having taken that lead on the first lap. He's taken that lead back off of Lightblade on this lap and has done really good job here. Lightblade must have had a momentary lapse of concentration. These two have been swapping positions over the last few laps. It's really been back and forth between these two. Lightblade trying to come back at Evan here in towards turn 2. Is he going to be able to have the means to do so? Not quite just at the moment. Well, Will looks like he's got ahead of Raki here up into third place. Didn't see that one, but he's definitely up into third. So Raki there, I don't know if he made a mistake or whether Will made the move on him, possibly into turn 1 maybe. Don't know if he got a good run into turn 1, but whatever the cause, the outcome is the same. Will Friedman up into third. He's only 6 seconds off of the 2 leaders here, so if Will really gets his skates on and puts in some consistent times, we could be seeing Will bringing himself into this battle, maybe make it a 3-way battle for the lead here, with Evan and Lightblade still going at it out the front. But Evan IRL currently has the ascendancy here in this race. Lightblade did briefly get him back a couple of laps ago, but Evan must have made the move on the previous lap and got himself back into the lead. It's been back and forth between these two. Lightblade qualified on pole, Evan alongside me on the front row, but Evan got the lead on the first lap. It then chopped and changed a couple of times, but right now Evan looks like he's got the measure of Lightblade here, as we're 14 minutes into this race, for the third of the way into the feature race, for the final race of the evening here for the Porsche Supercup on ACC here at Motive Racing on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 platforms. Drop a like on the video, guys, and show your appreciation for these two out the front, putting on a great show, battling for the lead. As Evan there all over the curb there on the exit of the last corner, but keeping it together for the time being, and Lightblade still unable to pounce or capitalise on anything that Evan is doing at this point. Will Friedman in third place, starting to bring the gap down. The gap was 5.3 at the last checkpoint. Let's see what it is now. It's 4.8, so Will gained half a second just through that last sector alone there. Will Friedman, the winner in the sprint race, the championship leader, the reigning champion of the Porsche Cup division here, is really flying there in third place and looking to try and reel these two in. whilst they battled it out with each other. He's already put over 2 seconds between himself and Raki since overtaking Raki on the previous lap. So he's really going for it at the moment, is Will Friedman. Exeron is within a second of Ryan Ruby as well. These two battling it out over 7th and 8th places. But Evan and Lightblade still going at it here on lap 9 of this race, and looking like they're not in any mood to stop, to let this peter out at this point. Down the hill, and Lightbody's to the outside here of Evan. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside here, coming through the Rackwoman rally, but in the end he's going to have to tuck in behind us. Evan gets a slightly better run, still side by side up the hill. Evan's going to have the inside for the chicane. Lightbody's going to try and get this around the long way if he can. Into the braking zone they come. Evan's going to once again just fend that one off, and he gets a little bit sideways on the exit of the corner, and Lightblade swoops up the inside up into the lead of the race. Great move there from Lightblade. Evan got a little bit hesitant as he came on the exit of the corner, and look who is closing on these guys in the background. Will Friedman is gaining a hand over fist on these two as they fight it out. Lightblade takes the lead and leads this race by a very fractional margin on that over that checkpoint, but it's now a little bit more than that. But Lightblade, Evan have now got this man here, the champion of the Porsches, very much on their radar here. This is going to be a three-way battle for the lead very shortly as they're continuing to trip over each other. Will Friedman is only making gains on these two. This is brilliant to watch right here as Lightblade's now got over a second of a gap to Evan. He can see that Will's coming and knows he now needs to pull his finger out and start getting in the lap times and start pulling out that gap. Evan may find himself pretty vulnerable to an attack here from Will pretty shortly. Running in second place, we've got Raki there in the background in 4th place at the moment, dropping off at the base of these front three. Looks like these three guys are going to be the ones in contention for the win tonight, but Lightblade probably knows now that he needs to pull this gap out to Evan and Will. He knows that Evan stands in the way between himself and Will, and he'll be hoping that Evan can keep Will at bay for as long as he can. But Lightblade now needs to absolutely put the hammer down and try and pull out that gap. Evan and Will going at it here for 2nd and 3rd places. Will Friedman now clearly within a second of him. The timing board says it's 1.4, but that's a massive lie, as he's actually quite clearly within a second of him at this point. Raki there running in 4th place. He's now for further 4.5 seconds off of the back of those two battling over 2nd place. Lightblade's already pulled out 2 seconds to Evan since getting that move done. He knows this is his opportunity to really get that cushion between himself and Will in this race. Will's got to be his big rival for the race win here. Will took the first race, the sprint race. Lightblade was matching him for a lot of the race. Will managed to put out the gap in the early stages, but then towards the end Lightblade seemed to be on the pace of him. So Lightblade knows he's got the potential to get the win in this one. He knows that he can really take the fight to Will on his day. He just needs to be able to get, first of all, he's got that track position, so he's got the first thing that he needs. Now he just needs to stay consistent. And he needs to avoid those track limits as well. Those obviously were his undoing last time out at Paul Ricard, but coming over the line to complete his 10th lap of the race. And Lightblade, your leader, ahead of Evan. 2 seconds the gap between him and Evan, as now Will's looking to the inside here up towards turn 1. Will Friedman is going to make the move here for 2nd place. Evan's going to try and hold it around the outside, goes very late on the brakes indeed, cuts the inside of the Villeneuve chicane, and I think Will's going to get this move done. Will does swoop around the outside up into 2nd place. Evan there making a little mistake, still running the podium spot though. Great race here from Evan so far, qualified in 2nd place, only 2/10 shy of Lightblade, but a little mistake there has allowed Will Friedman up into 2nd place, and Will Friedman from 10th on the grid here in this feature race now finds himself in 2nd place, and he's only 2 seconds off of the lead. So Lightblade now will be sensing that he's got to absolutely go hell for leather here in the second half of this feature race. This is going to be fascinating here on the Motive Racing channel. Lightblade and Will in a straight fight here, both of them having practice for this track, both of them having experience in these cars. They know what to do, and we're now going to see who is the best out of these two. Lightblade has got a slight head start here, but this is now going to be match on between these two. I can't wait to see how this one goes. Tribe Racing running just ahead of Ryan Ruby at the moment, 7/10 of a second separating these two, as Ryan's still trying to put that pressure on. These two running in the same livery. Obviously they are teammates, and I think they're good friends as well, sat in a party chat together. Eggs are on a second off of these two in 8th place at the moment. We've got still Will holding second place. He's now 2 seconds behind Lightblade, so he's continuing to keep that gap to Lightblade. Lightblade, though, I think now that you can see that Will's behind him, starting to pick up the pace a little bit. And to be fair to Evan, he's keeping to the back of Will since losing that position to him. Will got ahead of him at the beginning of the last lap, but Evans sticking to the task very resolutely here. He's not giving up by any stretch of the imagination. Will did gain 3/10 on Lightblade on that last lap, but these three looking pretty evenly matched still at this stage in the race. Will Friedman obviously was on a bit of a charge in the first part of the race, but Evan, I think now that he's gone eye to eye with Will, it's kind of just sort of awoken the beast inside of him and really forced him to start putting in the laps here, because he's still with him. But he goes a mistake there coming out of turn 1, which has dropped him off on the back of Will ever so slightly. He's now 1.4 behind him, so Evan there just getting a little bit out of shape will have dropped him off a bit. He's got to now regroup and go again, but the gap between Lightblade and Will, 1.7 seconds. Evans clinging on for dear life here as we see a back marker getting a little bit out of shape in the background there. I think that was Luke there getting out of shape. It was, as he's got Raki looking to his outside there. Raki running in 4th place, 5 seconds off of the 3 leaders, putting a lap there on Luke without too much of an issue. Lightblade, though, has a lead of 1.5 to Will. Will gain another 0.2 of a second coming through that first sector there. Will Friedman is a man on a mission here in this feature race. Took the win in the sprint race, started this one from P10. Lightblade's led since getting the move done on Evan about 3-4 laps to go. He obviously did get pole position, but Evan got ahead of him at the end of the first lap. Lightblade has now surely got to start thinking defensively, because Will is clearly quicker at this point in the race. Maybe now it's going to be about parking his car in the right places and about being wily, being sensible about where he puts his car, what he does with it. It's going to be all about getting traction out of these corners now. Traction out of the slower corners onto the straights is going to be pivotal to Lightblade keeping this lead. Will Friedman on a charge is going to be doing everything he possibly can to try and take 2 from 2 tonight here at Imola. Down the start finish straight they come to complete their 12th lap of the race. 0.6 of a second between these two coming up towards turn 1. This could go either way at this point between these two. It really is wide open in this race. Tribe, Ryan and Exeron still running 3 in a line at the moment, as it looked like Ryan got a little bit of a shaky exit out of the last corner. What is Tribe doing? Tribe looked like he just got a little bit all over the place there, and that's allowed Brian Exeron, up into 6th and 7th. Tribe there having an absolute nightmare there. Ryan's got Exeron looking to his inside into turn 1. He's not close enough at the moment to get that move done. It's as you were between those two, both getting ahead of Tribe though. Tribe losing out 2 places coming out of the last corner. Lightblade still leads by 0.6 of a second to Will Friedman. Lightblade looks like he's really picked it up since Will appeared on his bumper over this last lap or so. Lightblade's now starting to put that pedal down and really put on a show here out the front of the field. Currently 0.8 of a second between these two at the moment. They're gapping Evan by quite a bit. Evan's 2.5 seconds behind them in 3rd place at this point. Raki a further 6 seconds off of these. He's dropping off the pace by quite a bit now, but this is looking like a very, very close and cagey race between these two, Lightblade and Will Friedman, as they're coming down the hill for the 13th time here in this race. 17 minutes left to go in this feature race. Ryan's still running ahead of Exeron. Tribe's dropped off for the back of these two a little bit now. Exeron's still trying to get up onto that P6 if he can, up to towards the chicane they come. Exeron having a little look to the inside, but still not close enough to get the move done on Ryan. Up into 6th. Ryan goes straight on over the chicane though, really does take liberties there, but Exeron does the same, really rattles over that sausage curb, and now this is going to present an opportunity for Tribe Racing to try and get him here. Can Tribe try and get it around the outside as Exeron covers that inside line? Down the hill they come towards the hairpin. He reverts back to the normal racing line there, which is a little bit cheeky, obviously changing position in the braking zone, but he holds on to the position there. No, he goes wide, and Tribe's up into 7th place. Tribe there gets himself the position as Exeron went a little bit wide through the hairpin. They're still going to be side by side though, as Exeron did get a decent exit out onto the start finish straight, and now Exeron's going to get the position back as it's a straight drag strip over the line. Exeron back up into P7 there. These two dropping off at the back of Ryan as we speak, as they battle it out in towards turn 1. Exeron holds on to the place there ahead of Tribe Racing. Lightblade still holding on to this lead ahead of Will Friedman. 2/10 between these two. Evans gained a little bit over the course of this lap, 2 seconds behind them in 3rd place, but Lightblade is doing everything he possibly can at this point in this race as we're coming towards the final part of this feature race now. Lightblade qualified on pole position for this one. finished in second in the sprint race, followed Will home for that one, matched his pace towards the end of the race. These two very evenly matched in these Porsche Cup cars, but over this lap so far, it looks like Lightblade started to pull out the gap a little bit to him. 0.4 of a second between these two at the moment. Evan a further 1.7 back in third place. Raki 8.5 seconds off. He's continuing to fall off the back of these three. These three absolutely putting the laps down brilliantly here tonight here at Imola. They're in a class of their own in these Porsche Cup cars tonight here at Motive. Our Lightblade, Will and Evan putting on a great show out the front. Exeron running in 7th places. We see there he cuts the inside of the corner a little bit. Tribe still on the back of him here. These guys rattling over 7th and 8th places. Ryan running in the foreground there in 6th, keeping the gap reasonably comfortable to these two at this point. Lightblade down the start finish straight has got Will all over him here. 0.3 between them as they come over the line. Still a little bit too far back, I think, is Will to get this move done into turn 1. He's going to have to think about that one again. But Lightblade goes a little bit deep into the first corner. He needs to not do that again. If he does that again, that might be another track limits warning there for him. Lightblade needs to be careful with these track limits. Up towards turn 2 they come, and he still holds on for that lead at the moment. But Will is coming for him like an absolute train at the moment, and Evan there running in third place, just over a second off of these two. These three guys are absolutely inseparable at the moment out the front. Lightblade still has the lead, but by the skin of his teeth, as Will is absolutely coming for him at this point in the race, and Lightblade's going to have a hell of a task to keep these two behind him for the rest of this race, that is for sure. Ryan running it in 6th. He's still ahead of Tribe. Tribe has gapped Exeron. Exeron must have made a mistake on that last lap there, because he's now 6 seconds behind Tribe in 8th place. So that battle's kind of just fizzled out a little bit. Really, the only battle out on track now is between these three, Lightblade, Will and Evan. These three going at it still here on lap 15 of the race here for the feature race at Imola on Motive Racing's Porsche Supercup here on ACC. Number 71's been disqualified. That's Martin there, who's out of the race. He was a long way behind. I don't know if he was going the wrong way down the track maybe. Luke is in the pits as well. He's not going anywhere fast. He's definitely done for this session. He's definitely not coming out of that box, or if he does, then he won't be able to finish classified. Lightblade very wide out of the last corner. Should be okay to hold on though down the start finish straight. Will's looking to the outside though. Might be alongside here actually. They're going to be side by side all the way down the start finish here. Lightblade's going to try and squeeze Will, but Will's got the inside and he's slightly ahead here coming up towards turn 1. Lightblade's going to try and hold it around the outside here, side by side up towards turn 1. Evan trying to get involved in this action as well. What's going to happen as we come onto the brakes? Will takes the lead of the race, just about squeezed ahead of Lightblade there. Lightblade's still there though, still running right on his bumper as they're coming up towards turn 2 now. Will, Lightblade, Evan, these three. Evan trying to get the move done, and Lightblade looking to the inside. Lightblade trying to come back at Will, so close, bumper to bumper action as Will rattles over that curb and goes a little bit wide there, and Lightblade takes the lead back off of him again. Lightblade back up into P1 as Will got a little bit out of shape there. Evan was all over the back of them but couldn't get ahead of Will like Lightblade did. Will, after taking that lead, rattled over that second curb coming through that second chicane bit, and he's now got that P2. He's now back in P2 once again. Lightblade manages to take the lead. It's been going back and forth between these drivers tonight. Great action here on the Motive Racing channel between these three. Evans now dropped off and he's got a little bit there. Looked like he made a little mistake there coming through that previous corner. Lightblade and Will, 0.6 of a second between those two, but you don't know who's going to take it at this point. It's a lottery, literally a 50-50 between these two at this point. This one could go either way. I really wouldn't want to hazard a guess as to who's going to win this race at this point. It's completely up in the air at the moment, but at the moment Lightblade has that lead. He's got that ascendancy back off of Will, as Will is still on the back of him here coming down towards the hairpin. But great action between these two. Will Friedman, as I said before, reigning champion of the Porsche Cup. He's also the championship leader. He's had many wins over the course of this season. Lightblade racing as a reserve tonight, but he was a bit more prepared for tonight than he was last week. Last week at Paul Ricard, he jumped in very last minute, and this time he's had time to prepare. He's had time to know that he's racing tonight and really get himself the best setup, get himself some practice in the server. We promised that he would have a spot for tonight. I knew there'd be a little bit of space for him to get involved, and he is currently rising to the occasion here. He's clearly done the work and he knows what he's doing around this Imola circuit, that is for sure. Will still on the back of him, 0.2 between these two at the moment. Just over 10 minutes to go here in this feature race, and this one is absolutely anyone's between these two. Evan looks like he's dropping off the pace a little bit there in third place, now 2.8 seconds behind. But it's going to be between these two for the win, I reckon. as Ryan running in 6th place. He's 7 tenths behind Cinderella Tour at the moment. Cinderella Tour has been running in P5 for a little while, but he's now got Ryan very much for company here. These two are a little way off of Raki, who's running in 4th. They're not going to be able to catch him up in this race. This is very much the summit of these two's ambitions here in this race. Lightblade still leads ahead of Will though at the front, 3 tenths between those two as they're coming through the middle sector of this lap. 10 minutes to go here in the feature race, into the final quarter for the final race of the evening. Lightblade has led this one since getting ahead of Evan about midway through the race. He made the move. Oh, as he gets in a bit of a shaky run though, Will's going to get the cut back coming out of the chicane there. He's going to surely be side by side with him down towards the hairpin, side by side all the way down the hill. Here they come. Lightblade's going to have to give the space to him on the inside, right over the curb a little bit, trying to keep himself alongside, but Will, has he gone deep into the corner? I think Will might have that move done. No, he's gone deep. He has gone deep into the corner. Lightblade back up the inside there, up into P1. What great racing between these guys. Lightblade was so wide coming into the final hairpin. He was literally just hugging the curb on the right hand side. If he had been inches more to the right hand side, he would have tagged the grass and he would have been sideways into the wall, but somehow managed to give Will space on the inside. Will went a little bit too deep, took a bit too much coming into the entry of the corner, went a little bit wide. Lightblade perfectly executed the cutback. Great driving from Lightblade out the front. Will Friedman also, hats off to both of these boys for not taking each other out in that situation. That would have been extremely difficult for both of them in that moment, as they're now coming up on some traffic here. That looks to be is that Stones there getting out of the way for them? It is Stones, as they flash the light there from both of the front two as they make their way through. Lightblade still just ahead of Will Friedman right now. 4 tenths is the gap between them as they're coming up the hill, as Evan is 1.5 off, but Evan has picked up a drive-through penalty for track limits, so he'll have to come in and serve that before the end of the race. I would imagine he might just come out ahead of Ryan in 5th, but it'll be close. He might come out in 4th place, we'll see. But here come Lightblade and Will down towards the chicane once again. Lightblade once again taking the defensive line. Will looking to the outside, trying to get it around the long way, can't do it. This is where Lightblade made a big mistake on the previous lap. Gets a little bit wide this time as well, and it's going to be round 2 maybe. No, I don't think it is. I think he's just about got the legs here, and Will doesn't quite get the cutback coming down the hill. I thought for a second that Will might have a chance there, but Lightblade doing what he needs to do. Went a little bit wide into that corner, but keeps it. Oh no, Will's going to get him on the exit here, is he? I thought Lightblade had a bit of a deep exit into the corner, but he gets the wider line out of the final corner. Lightblade definitely got a better run onto the straight than Will did, and it's going to hold on to that lead for the time being. Will tucks back in for that slipstream here, coming over the line to complete their 18th lap of the race, up towards turn 1 once again. Will looking to the inside. Is they going to be side by side? I don't think they are. Lightblade should be able to take that corner. As they come onto the brakes there, Lightblade a little bit deep into the entry of the corner. He's going to have the inside for turn 2. Can he restrict the space on the inside there for Will? He does, and holds on to that lead. That was very close from Lightblade there. Such a close call between those two. A tenth between them coming through that previous checkpoint, but Lightblade still holding on to this lead at the moment. Evans into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty. 2 tenths between these two, Lightblade and Will at the moment. Will having looks everywhere, trying to find the space to get himself up into that lead, but it's still no opportunities are presenting themselves at this point. Great battle between these two. What a show they're putting on. This has got to be the race of the season so far here on the Motive channel here in the Porsche Supercup. Always throws up some surprises and some interesting action, does the Porsche Cup, but nothing quite like this. These two have been trading left, right and centre, lap after lap. It's been going back and forth here, there and everywhere. But at the moment, Lightblade does still have the lead. Will has been on the back of him for many, many laps now, and these two so evenly matched. Lightblade had Evan for company in the first part of the race and was having a good battle with him. But then as soon as he saw Will coming, he was like, right, I've got to pick it up now. I've got to really push and go for it if I'm going to take this one. And Lightblade has duly delivered on his promise. He always comes in promising that he's going to put on a show and give us an exciting stream to watch. And boy, has he done that. He's currently got 4 tenths back to Will at the moment. And this time around, coming through that corner, doesn't give us any little scares or shocks. He's keeping it clean as they're coming out onto the start finish straight here for the 19th time here in this race. Cinderella Tours within 2 seconds of Ryan Ruby. Ryan Ruby's up into 4th place, completely neglected that one as we were watching the lead battle, but Ryan is up into 4th place and continuing his solid fight back here in this feature race. Cinderella Tours got 4 seconds back to Tribe. Exteron is within a second of Tribe racing at the moment, so those two continue to run pretty close for 6th and 7th places. Evan has filtered out in 8th after his drive-through penalty, and the rest are kind of just spread out at the moment. But this is the battle for the lead, 2 tenths between Lightblade and Will, with what I think is going to be 4 laps left, including this one here in this race. Could be wrong, but I believe this is the 4th. I believe we're 3.5 laps from the end of this feature race, and this is looking like it's going to be one of these two. Very likely going to be one of these two, but which one, I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. It's impossible to call at this stage. I really wouldn't want to hazard a guess as to who is going to win this one. But yeah, this is going to be absolutely brilliant to see who's going to take this one. Got a few comments here in the stream. I've really neglected the comments section tonight. Apologies for that, guys. But Scooter Paul saying evening all, good luck everybody, come on Raki. Pete Bibb says good luck to everybody. Taco Cat saying that's a strange like to dislike ratio, to be honest. Yeah, it is, mate. I think I know who the 2 dislikers are as well, but I believe it's the same person. But currently Lightblade and Will 4 tenths apart, coming in towards the hairpin. One little tip: when you get to know somebody, don't let them get to know you too well, because then they'll know everything about you, and they'll always know when it's you doing stuff. But Lightblade and Will currently 4 tenths separate them, coming out onto the start finish straight for what is now their 20th time here in the race, and they've got 3 laps left to go here in this one. This is going to go down to the wire between these two, we know that for sure, but Lightblade has done a brilliant defensive job over the course of these last few laps. Will's been trying to find our way around him if he can, but just hasn't been able to. Bumper to bumper once again, coming up towards the second chicane, but Lightblade doing everything he has to do, and Will Friedman now is going to surely be wondering what has he got to do to take this win. What has he got left in the tank to try and put Lightblade off, try and destabilise him a little bit. He knows now he's not going to be able to pressure Lightblade into a mistake. Lightblade has held firm for lap after lap after lap. Will's just got to maybe send one down the inside or do something that Lightblade doesn't expect, and hope that it sticks and it pays off in some way. Lightblade obviously was battling with Evan earlier on, and because of that, I think he wasn't really showing his real pace, and as soon as we saw Will pulling up onto the back of him, I think we've seen the true pace of Lightblade, and he's clearly a match for Will in these Porsche Cup cars. We know that. We could see that in the sprint race, to be fair, because towards the end of the race, Lightblade was keeping the gap to Will. He was bringing it down at certain points. It was just the first part where Will managed to pull out that gap, and Lightblade found himself in an unassailable position where he couldn't bring it back. But in this race, he's been running at the front pretty much since the beginning. As soon as he saw Will on his radar, he started to pick up the pace a little bit, and since he's had him on his back, they have been absolutely nip and tuck, really. But they're coming out onto the start finish straight now. 2 laps left to go, penultimate lap of the race here for the Porsche Cup, round 6, race 12, feature race here at Imola on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 on Assetto Corsa Competizione, in towards turn 1 once again. Still running pretty much nothing between those bumpers at the moment. I don't know what the situation is with the track limits warnings. I would assume that they might have picked up a couple along the way, so it all depends now on how much they want to take risks, or how cautious these two are going to be. Are they on their final warnings? Have they maybe not had many warnings? If they've only had 1 warning, say for example, they might be more willing to push the limits and try and gain an advantage if they can with the track limits. Obviously you can do if you haven't had too many warnings, but if you're in a final warning, then it's you're certainly running the risk. But up the hill they come now, and Will still looking all over the back of Lightblade parking his car in the middle of the track, which is an interesting one. He's not going full defensive, but he's kind of just trying to dissuade Will from thinking about making the move if he can. He's definitely trying to make Will think twice about any decisions that he might make here out the front, as we see a back marker there in the foreground. That's DDTKU. Didi's had a horror show of a race here in this feature race. This really hasn't gone to plan at all for him as Lightbait goes a little bit deep into the first part of the chicane, and Will gets the cut back there. Will's going to get him on the cut back, and Will's up into the lead of the race. Will Freeman, has he got it done? They're still side by side down the hill. Lightbait got a better run out of the corner in the end because Will had to take a tighter line on the inside when he got that cut back, and down the hill they come into the final hairpin. Is Lightbait still on the outside? They're still side by side coming through the final part of this lap here. They're about to start the final lap of the race. Lightbait holding it around the outside and holds onto the lead just about there by the skin of his teeth, but Will Freeman absolutely all over him coming over the start finish line. Up towards the line they come here to complete the penultimate lap onto the final lap. And Lightblade having to defend to the inside line up towards turn 1. Is Will going to try and get it around the long way here as they come onto the brakes? No, he's not. Lightblade goes incredibly deep into the first corner though. He goes extremely deep and cuts the inside of the corner. He must have had a couple of track limits warnings left still to go because he completely cut the inside of that corner but got away with it scot-free. So he must have clearly been pretty good over the course of this race and not ran the limits too much. But Lightblade very lucky there because he absolutely missed out the second part of that chicane there as he went deep into the first part, and Will Freeman's probably stamping his feet and saying, come on, that's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, if he hasn't picked up the warnings throughout this race, then he's not going to get a penalty just yet. So Lightblade living dangerously here. He would have definitely got a warning for that. He needs to keep it clean throughout the rest of his lap. I don't know what his situation is with track limits warnings, but in towards the final half a lap, Will within 2/10 of him. Raki started to close in on these guys as they've been battling out the last few laps. He's now within 10 seconds of the two leaders in that final podium spot. Ryan has got a second back to Cinderella Tour. Cinderella Tour starting to come back at Ryan a little bit. Tribe and Exteron still battling it out, 4/10 between these two. But back to the leaders here as they're coming in towards the final sector. Lightblade here has the lead by slender margin out of the exit of the final chicane and down the hill for the final time here in this race. What a race it's been from these two. Lightblade has to just keep it cool in towards these final two left-handers. Come here, Lightblade keeping it together, keeping it cool, out onto the start finish straight for the final time. What a battle between these two, what a show they put on. Lightblade and Will flashing the lights to each other. Lightblade's going to take the win in the feature race. What a drive. Will Freeman, hats off to him, took the fight to him all the way. And from 10th on the grid, you've really got to congratulate Will for what a great drive he put on there. Raki comes over to take a 3rd place here in this race. That final podium spot goes to him. Ryan Ruby is going to finish this race in 4th as he's coming out of the final hairpin here. He's just ahead of Cinderella Tour, but Cinderella Tour isn't going to get there in time. Ryan Ruby is going to hold on